Hi, Arkush for ChicagoSunTimes.com. As we continue preparing you for your fantasy football season, we have another video posted in which we talk about the quarterbacks and the running backs. Here, we will go into what you probably want to do at wide receiver and tight end. Wide receiver, the top five, are pretty easy to gauge and they're pretty hard to split. Obviously, Megatron, Calvin Johnson is number one. Then you've got Demaryius Thomas, you've got A.J. Green, you've got Dez Bryant, you've got Brandon Marshall. Put those four guys pretty much in any order you want. Be a little careful with Demaryius Thomas. I'm just not sure that Peyton Manning can match the numbers this year that he put up last year. After you get by the big five, that's where you start to skip a round or two and come back at your wide receivers in the third or fourth round. Next up on the list, Julio Jones, Alshon Jeffrey, going to have big seasons, as well as Jordy Nelson. These are guys you can feel real comfortable with putting up numbers. Again, Jones injured last year, so you can't account for that. But if healthy, he could very well make his way into that top five this year. He's probably the top of this second tier or second group. Now, a couple guys we want to be careful with. Antonio Brown was 6th, 5th, 7th in most receiving categories last year, near the top in yardage, had a breakthrough year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But is he truly a number one receiver? Can he string back-to-back years together? Will he suffer with Emmanuel Sanders having moved on and not being the option on the other side? They brought in Lance Moore, but we're not sold yet on Antonio Brown. You want him on your team, just be careful how high you draft him. Pierre Garçon and Vincent Jackson had huge years in Washington and Tampa last year. Not sure with Deshaun Jackson in Washington that Garçon gets anywhere near the targets or the activity this year for the Redskins. And with Vincent Jackson, love him. He's a big play guy. He can be a really good fantasy receiver. But will Josh McCown be the answer at quarterback? And will that offensive line, which is a nightmare in Tampa right now, give them a chance to get their passing game together? So be a little leery with Vincent Jackson. Now at the tight end position, again, obviously Jimmy Graham is right there on top. You're certainly going to have Vernon Davis close. You're going to have Julius Thomas of the Denver Broncos in your top tight end group as well. And don't forget Rob Gronkowski. He is a guy you really want to keep a close eye on. Has been number one or number two in recent years till the injuries started. He could be number one or number two again if you believe he's going to be healthy. Jason Witten rounds out the top five at this group. Always productive, always dependable, a guy you can count on from the Dallas Cowboys. Who do you want to be careful with? I would start with be careful with Jordan Cameron. He was a breakout player for the Cleveland Browns last year, but with that mess at quarterback right now, it's Brian Hoyer for now. Will it become Johnny Manziel? Can either of them get the job done? The Cleveland offense is a little scary. Eric Ebron is a rookie that a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon. We always caution people about rookies on your fantasy team. You got to have some, but don't draft them too high. Ebron will probably be a playmaker in the NFL, but will it happen from day one? Well, we're not so sure of. And Jared Cook is a guy who went to St. Louis as a free agent last year to be a difference maker in that offense. With the Bradford injury, the fact that Cook didn't light it up last year, be a little leery of how high you pick him. A couple interesting players you may not know as much about. Charles Clay is a very productive tight end for the Miami Dolphins, and he always seems to last too long in fantasy drafts. Keep an eye on him as your second tight end if you're sitting there in the 6th, 7th round and you think that's where you want to go. And Jordan Reed of the Washington Redskins, will he stay healthy? If he stays healthy, he could put up as many points as most fantasy football tight ends in the league. The question is injuries. We think there's a good chance after a tough rookie year that he does stay healthy and becomes a breakout player this year. For the ChicagoSunTimes.com, I'm Arkush, and for the best sports anywhere, stay right where you are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.